All right, my friends, if you like outer space or just drawing something a little different, then this one is for you. I would suggest well, first of all, we need our watercolors. We need our oil pastels if you have them. If you don't, crayons will work just fine. Or even colored pencils will work okay for this. But we also might want something round in a few different sizes to use as a guide for outlining. Do you guys want to see? Dun, 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 dun. It's still a little wet. If I hold it up too long, it's going to drip, but that's what we're making. But as you can see, we want a few different kind of sizes of round things to trace if you've got it. If they're not... Otherwise, you could just freehand it. All right, let's get started. All right, my friends, we have our watercolor paper if you have it. If you don't, again, it'll work just fine without it. And I've got it portrait or hot dog, and I have my good pencil. Now, the first thing that we are going to do is going to be our kind of mountain ridge line. Oops. And we're going to just start that towards the bottom, right? We want to leave a lot of space for our space. But we do want to kind of give us an idea. So just really lightly with my pencil, I'm just going to put some mountains in there. They're going to get painted over so they don't have to be perfect. Does that show up at all? Here. Just like that. Okay. Now, if you do have something that is circular that you can trace for some of the bigger ones, that's awesome. If not, you can certainly eyeball it. I'm going to, as you can see, trace a few of them. I'm going to do this one kind of coming off the side. I'm going to use the same one for that kind of cheating a little bit. I'm going to do one more with the other side. Ooh. There we go. And then I think I'm going to like eyeball a couple, like maybe one right there. I'm going to triangle on the smaller side. There we go. And one last smaller one up there as well. You know what? I might just use my smaller, let's see. I want to find something else for that one. I'm going to use the same one. I think it will be fine. I was like, I just don't want that one to be the only one that's not good. All right, there we are. That smaller one will be totally fine. I'm just going to clean it up. It's quite easy to draw a good small one. There we are. All right, so we are going to transition right from our right from our pencil to our black oil pastel. Ooh, I fibbed. All right, so from our pencil, we're going to grab our yellow and our gray, and we are going to just do this motion, just a few little spirals that go over kind of everything. And I'm going to do kind of part of my spiral in yellow and part of it kind of a little bit messier in gray. I'll show you what I mean, but we don't want to go too crazy with it. Like, just about like that. Okay. I do want it to go over things like that. Just like that. All right, so now we are going to go in with our black, and we're going to map out right away where all of our shadows will be. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn my paper to the left, and all of my shadows are going to be on this side. Now, what I'm going to do, it's okay if I cover up some of these, but I am going to line and lightly fill. I'm going to go around my lines that I just made. I mean, if I cover up a few of them, that's okay. But I'm going to go and line, like I said, and gently fill, you know, not quite half, but kind of as if it were, you know, a shaded moon, right? Does that make sense? Just like that. And so I'm going to do that to all of them. They're all going to get shaded on the same side. Try your best to work around those lines you just made. Like I said, if you have a few that get covered up, that's okay, right? Do try to make your line on your circle pretty clean. So like this one, I did a little more of a curve, less of a full moon or half moon type thing, right? This one I'm doing a little further. So don't make every single one exactly the same, I guess is my point. Let's see. And I'm definitely making the edge, the back edge, slightly darker. I'm pushing a little harder on that line and on that edge. Does that make sense? Furthest from our light source, the darker it'll be, right? Just like that. All right, I'm going to finish these up and we will come back. All right, so I have done inside all of my planets. Now I'm going to just put a little bit of black underneath the planets, almost to like give them shadow. So to do that, I'm going to turn this upside down because I find it so much easier. And I'm even going to bring some of that black like up onto my other side, if that makes sense. So just giving it a little shadow, going clearly underneath this time, right? There we go. And what that does is it also helps kind of create our little curve. So we are not done. We're going to outline the rest of that again on the outside of the line, not on the inside of the circle. We're going to use our blue. And you can continue it a little on to the black to kind of overlap it a little. But again, this is just going to define our line and really make those stand out and make them look much more 3D. So all this is really creating shadow. And we do want to be careful of our wrist. This is going to get quite a bit of color on it, so we don't have to worry too much. But I would still, you know, don't drag it too much. There we are. See? Beautiful. Okay. Next step, we need to bring our little kind of flowy little lights coming off of here. So we are going to grab our light blue and our red and our white. And again, I'm going to turn my paper. And what we're going to do here is we're going to flick. I'm going to start down by my line and I'm going to flick towards myself in these little small lines. And I'm going to go all the way around my mountain here. Right? Just like that. Some of them can be bigger. We don't want them all to be uniform or all the same, right? There we go. I'm going to do the same thing in blue. I'm trying to kind of go between my reds with my blue. I'm not really trying to blend them. Do you see? It's okay if some of them do, but I'm really trying to fill in the space between my reds with this blue. Like the first time I was just kind of going for it, right? This time I'm being a little more, not careful, but thoughtful with my lines. Just like that. Okay. Then I can come in with my white and kind of blend those together. So I'm just going to kind of go over all of them. And you can kind of go back and forth for this, but I would still kind of do that flick as the last motion because this edge is going to hit paint, right? So we still want it to be like a nice edge. And if you go a little bit into your mountain, that's okay. I have a solution, so don't worry. Just like that, okay? We want it nice and light and bright. Okay? Now, like I said, if you go over that line a little. Now, if we just leave it and paint this black, what's going to happen is all along this edge, it's going to be really messy because we have those kind of light colored lines. So we're going to go over it with our darker blue. And this is where we really get to like form the shape of our mountain. All right. So feel free to like not completely follow your line, right? You can make it have a few more bumps and grooves than maybe you originally gave it. That will only make it more interesting. But we want a nice, heavy pressured line. See how clean and crisp that is? And then I'm going to go over some of it. Not all of it. And then some kind of below it with some black. So bring the black up into the blue in certain areas, but not in all of it. But it should come right below it. I'll blend that out just a little. I got a little heavy-handed right there. And kind of go over it one more time. If you get a little too crazy on the black right there, you can kind of go over it one more time with your blue. Blend it out. We're using them just like they're markers right now, right? Beautiful. A few more details before we move on to painting. So we need to take our light blue and our white. And what I want to do with our white, we're going to do it in the same idea as this swirl, but not necessarily overlapping exactly. I just want us to make some little kind of big fat, not skinny like this, but just some like kind of curved, rounded shapes. We're gonna make this whole thing a spiral in the background. So I really just, I'm not making these perfect. I'm just kind of making some little curvy lines. I don't want to do this in my actual planets. I'm just kind of doing it. You can sort of see like through here where I did some of those. I'm also going to do just a few, nothing crazy, little dots here and there, little circles, like messy ones. We don't want them to be real perfect, right? I'm going to do the same thing with my blue. You can kind of see what I'm talking about a little bit better. Real messy kind of dots. Not all the same size. Right? Just like that. All right, a couple more in there. Perfect. And I think we are ready to start painting. Right, so if you have a kind of slightly larger brush, kind of like this one, a mid-size, that would be great for this. If you don't, that's okay. You know the deal. It'll just be a little more work, but you guys can do it. So the first tones that we want to start with are kind of like our darker tones, okay? And then we'll kind of blend out from there. So what I want to do is I want to go in with my dark blue not where I put my white, if that makes sense. So anywhere else, when you're looking at your page and you didn't put white there, you're going to put the blue, but you're going to put it in those same kind of swirly patterns. Okay, so this is going to go all around the outside, not inside of our planets, obviously, right? And we don't want to go too much into our little beams of light. All right, so once I go in with my kind of like darkest blue, then I'm going to kind of go in with just a little more washed out blue. Right? And we'll kind of start blending this together. So I want all of my lines to be going in that circular pattern. The most important thing here is that I don't get them in my planets. So we do have to kind of be careful of that. But the thing here is that we don't want it to be real even. So that kind of gives us some room to play around here, right? Like we can just put a dot here, put a dot there. They don't have to be big, perfect strokes. Right? And any little funky edges, don't worry about it because we're gonna obviously fill the planets as well. So if around the planets you have some funky stuff going on, don't focus on that too much right now. All right, I'm going to finish this up and we'll come back together. So my video cut off and it didn't make a sound, but I painted the planets. As you can see, I did a little green and yellow here. You guys can see the colors. You can do them whatever colors you want, by all means. I just kind of messed with those and left them, or put the paint down and left them. I didn't mess with them, excuse me. I will be coming back to them here in a few to kind of blend them out. But while they were hanging out, soaking into my paper, I went down and worked on the black of my mountains here. You guys know the deal with the black. Must put it in the top of your palette first. Now, I am going to go on to the black of this to put them in the actual paintings themselves as soon as I blend these out. So I'm going to, sorry, I didn't need to turn that yet. I was prematurely turning my page. So I'm just going to use my smaller brush for now. And I'm just going to kind of blend these together, soften it up. I still want it to be patchy, right? I didn't want it to be all solid. Just like that. Might even put just a little bit of red in there. I want it to be kind of colorful, right? Same with over here. Might go back in with a little more red, make it a little more vibrant. Just try that again, wet that a little bit, kind of blend them together, right? Now, I'm going to start on the black parts on the ones that have dried up a little bit, but this part, you guys know what I'm going to say, this will ruin it. If it's wet like this one, and you go in to do your shadows, your black, it will ruin it. They will bleed together. So have a snack, go get a drink of water, let this set up, and then come back to it. Now, if you are using regular paper and not watercolor paper, then you definitely will not have to wait quite as long. But I just want you to bring some of this black paint in just to the very edges, just where it really needs to be the most dark. You don't have to color or cover everything, right? Because we actually brought some of that color onto the black area, just like that. I'm trying not to get my sleeve into anything either here. But this part you really do have to kind of be very careful. Go slow with it. I think I might bring this one up just a little bit more. I wanted to bring it around that little line. You can also kind of bring it up underneath your shadows. Like underneath them. Here we go. If you accidentally get them a little, like get a little big, just go with it. Make the shadow a little bigger. That's what I mean by go with it. All right. All right, last one. I think it is set up enough that I'm going to just do it very carefully just so we can see it and be done. It's also a color that's really close to it, so. Almost there. There we go. And that's all she wrote, my friends. Yes. I hope you enjoyed that one. I'll see you next time.